Thank you. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. This is Eutimia Cruz Montoya, a.k.a. La Kwaxiru, she who is crazy for love. So the whole point of doing this podcast originally was to talk about love and relationships. I have a YouTube channel called Muse in Medicine. My practice, my holistic healthcare practice is called Muse in Medicine. And that actually came from a Rumi quote, which is, "We rarely hear the inward music, yet we are all dancing to it nevertheless." And it really spoke to me to why a lot of people are all messed up. Like, we have stuff on the inside that we never dealt with, childhood stuff, painful things. According to esoteric Chinese medicine, understanding the way we become healthy is by nourishing our divine truth. So any variation, any veering from our path is what actually creates this symptomology. The symptomology is our body telling us, yo, you're off. Where are you supposed to be going? So if you are a practitioner of the healing arts, your purpose is to help people know themselves, know their truth, know their path. So Muse In was all about going in, diving in, amusing oneself within so that you can figure out what's on the inside that is manifesting on the outside. And then a little bit into me calling myself that, my mom was like, "Oh, that's so perfect. You're the Muse in Medicine." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even think of that." And it totally works. So there's that. So check out Muse in Medicine, YouTube and Facebook. And right now we have this wonderful, beautiful, creative human being who I think really embodies what it is to muse within and how that manifests for her on the outside. So I'm so pleased to introduce Akiala.
Hello.
Welcome, Mama. Why don't you tell everybody about yourself?
Okay. My name is Akiala and I'm 21 years old, but
Still a baby.
yeah, I'm still a baby, but well, I should say 21 years old in human years, like in spirit years.
A few thousand.
Yeah, maybe
1, 2.
I feel like I've been here plenty of times, but I love animals. I love fashion. I love the smell of laundry, the laundry aisle. I love French fries. I love hearing people laugh. And I love finding ways to love.
Okay, so how is love showing up most greatly in your life right now?
I would say, one, I feel like I'm showing up for myself really a lot right now, and just like, just finally really being active and like listening to myself, really like being active and like listening into my dreams and my feelings. I think for a long time I kind of was not listening to those things or not wanting to express those things, and I think that was where I was lacking in a lot of love for myself. So I think now I'm like, in what ways can I love myself even more? So I'm like actively trying to romance and seduce and like date myself, and also just support from my community and friends. I've been really surprised in the past few months to see like who has been really showing up for me and who wants to be around me or just has gifts for me, or it's just been like, it's just so sweet. So I think that's how love is showing up for me right now.
Wonderful. Well, and I know in my own experience, when I have been super duper down with me, it's like it vibes out, and everybody's like, "Dimi, Dimi, Dimi, here, love, love, love," and I'm like, "Thank you." Yeah, and it's just love me. And then also, I think it's really important, and I talk to my patients about this. Like, you gotta ask for what you need. Mm-hmm. You know, if you don't, there's a Rumi quote. I love Rumi. Clearly, it says, "Open your hands if you want to be held." And it's just like nobody's gonna come up to you if you're like, but when you're like, hey, and they're like, oh, okay, and they might be shy at first, but when you're offering something, there's people who want to receive it, and that is this prompt of being received. Like, hey, let me receive you, you receive me, and we share and we give and we offer. So that's beautiful.
I just heard, who was some lady? She was just, I don't know. She just randomly said like the universe helps those who help themselves. So I was like, yeah, because and I've been witnessing that a lot. Just like the more I'm like starting to create more, or like, okay, like let me really put in some action, really like at least take the steps, even though I don't know the how. That's not really my concern. If it's meant to be, like
the how is not really my concern.
Yeah, it's not.
Take notes.
Because that's the magic. That magic is the how. Like, you're just supposed to go for the journey. You put out your intention, what you want to have happen, and then you just start walking. And if it's meant to be, then the path will just kind of be revealed underneath you. And I witnessed so many miracles in the past few weeks because it was just like, okay, this is clearly supposed to happen because there's no way that this would have happened if it wasn't supposed to.
Right. Will you give an example? I want to hear about your magic.
Yeah, okay. So I recently had a fashion show. It was with Raw Natural Born Artists, and it was at the Church nightclub.
Nice.
I got an email from them like a month ago, and I was like one of the last artists booked. And I just said yes. I was like, I'm just gonna say yes to this. And they're like, do you want to be a part of this event? And I was like, sure. Even though I was like, I don't have any clothes right now. I haven't sewn in months. I have like a penny in my account. Like, how am I gonna like buy fabric to do this? I haven't talked to people. How am I gonna get models? Like, plus I gotta sell like 20 tickets. Like, how am I gonna do that in like 4 weeks? And I have like all these other events going on. And I was just like, but then I don't know. Like, I just put out immediately that day. I was like, I need models. And got all the models booked in that one day from Instagram. Like, people just were like, I want a model. And I was like, cool. Like, I actually had more than enough people, like, reply to me. So I was like, tight. Well, don't got to worry about models. So check. And then I was like, but I still got a penny in my account. How am I going to buy fabric? But then, I don't know, like, a week later, someone just gifted me, like, $40, and I'm like, okay, like, cool, that works. And I just ended up going to the thrift store, and I found like literally all the perfect fabric that I'm just like, you should not be in here. Like, what? And
thrift stores are my favorite, by the way.
And spent the whole $40, had all my fabric, and then 3 days before the event, I was like, oh, I have 0 tickets sold. I'm probably not going to be able to participate in this event, but I just called people and texted people, and then I ended up on the day of selling 23 tickets. So I actually made a profit.
Word.
But yeah, none of my models canceled. I sewed everything just in the nick of time, and it was just like, wow, like I just kept moving even though I was like, I don't know. Like, a few days before, I'm like, I really don't know if I'm going to be in this event. Like,
right.
And I was like, but it feels like, you know, something wants me to do this. So I just went with it. And then the universe, you know, sometimes it's on its own time. So, which is usually like 11:50. Yeah.
Time.
It's, yeah.
Does time exist?
Right. It's just like, I'll get to you. I got you. Don't worry. But you're like, but when? It's like, oh yeah, right now it's like 11:59. You're like, oh God.
Well, and the things that I've found when you're passionate about something, right? When you love something, when you're being called, like you literally got the call and you said yes. Like that's also figurative, right? It's literal straight up in this case, but it's also figurative. So people out there, when you get a call and it excites you, like say yes, you know?
Yeah.
And I wonder about that because I recently, a dear person of mine took an event that didn't really excite them that much. And I was like, if it doesn't excite you, why are you doing it? And then the event, I felt, turned out super beautiful. So there was some other thing, I think, acting on that. So even though they weren't excited, there was a reason this person said yes. So sometimes they're a little cryptic. Universe can be a little tricky.
Definitely. That's when intuition comes into play. Just like, okay, checking with my body. Like, even though I was like, oh, this is a lot of work, but it just felt more rewarding to my spirit. Or at least I even thought, like, even if I don't get to do the show, like, I will have, made clothes, and then I can put on my own fashion show, or like I was just like, but doing it, or I was like, I just need to create. Like, for an artist, like, being stagnant for that long is like death, honestly. So I was like, I just want to create, and this is my reason, and I'm doing it. So,
and that's really powerful too. I think a lot of us oftentimes put the import on what's external, right? I have to do this fashion show. And then, like, say, for instance, the fashion show fell through. And they're like, man, all that work for nothing. It's like, actually, no, you put it in, and you enjoyed yourself, and look at all this beautiful stuff that you made that will serve you in some other way. So on the flip side of that, getting the call and going for it, even if you are a little like anybody ever had something that they had to do, and then they're like, like, damn it. And then some rainstorm or something happens and it's like canceled. Or I had this, and this is interesting, this is coming up. My last year in college, my grandmother passed away 3 weeks before I graduated.
Oh, wow.
And I was in this class with this beautiful woman. She's such an amazing avant-garde dancer artist. Her name's Alita Hayes. And she does this thing called the Chocolate Heads now. That's like her dancer collective at Stanford. And she's just a badass. But we were doing this stuff, and I wasn't yet, I grew up with a lot of Catholic shame. I wasn't yet ready to come out with a lot of things. And I had written these like super sexy, sultry poems about like coming into my sexuality. I was like 22. And then my grandma died, and I missed the last performance. I flew home here, and I missed it. And I remember feeling so relieved that I didn't have to put like that out there yet. So it's just interesting the way things, I mean, I love my grandma, I miss my grandma, but also because she passed away, my whole family was able to travel to Stanford and see me graduate. And she was there too, whereas if she wouldn't have died, somebody would have had to stay behind. So it's just really interesting the way things work out. And I honestly feel like she did that kind of on purpose. I'm like, dang, grandma. So talk about love, right? I'm willing to sacrifice my life so that me and her are like soulmates. My grandma Celia was my soulmate. She is my soulmate. She'd be holding it down in the spirit world.
Yes, grandma.
So we were talking about sacrifice earlier.
We were.
Do you want to take the reins on that subject?
Sure. I mean, because we were talking about sacrifice first in like the context of animals and the food we eat, like even fruits and vegetables, we're all kind of consuming death in order
Yummy death.
but gaining life from this death. But today I went to like a petting farm, and I got to like feed animals, and there was like a baby calf there that was the most beautiful creature, and like had these eyes that were just like so beautiful, and his eyelashes were like and I was just like, you're so cute. Like, how do people eat you? And I was like, oh yeah, like I haven't been eating beef for a while. I was like, yeah, I'm not eating beef. Like, I can't after seeing this. Like, that just breaks my heart. But then I immediately went to this art show after, and they were serving free chili or Philly cheesesteaks, and I was like, I'm hungry. and then I was eating, and I was like, that was pretty good, but no more beef. And then the guy was like, do you want another one? And I was like, oh. And I was like, no, yes. So but I mean, you know, said my like prayers over it, and I was thinking like while I was eating it, I was thinking about the cow, and it was just like, this is interesting. Like, I don't know how to, like, I don't feel guilty for eating this, because, you know, like, I'm hungry. It's satisfying me. It's filling me, and like, I'm thankful for this. And like, I mean, this animal already gave its life. It's not like, you know, like I participated in killing this animal, but yet still it's like it's there. But I never met this animal. I don't know how it was raised. I don't know how it was killed. Like, I don't know what name it had or personality. So I don't have that connection with this food that I'm eating, which to me it's kind of, it's sad. Like, I don't know if I would prefer to have eaten something I had a connection with, or or to like, would I have preferred to eat the cow that I saw that day that I was feeding and like, petting and loving, versus a cow that I don't know. And so I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because when you eat it, it effectively becomes part of you.
Yeah.
Right? So I know there are tribes, my degree is in anthropology, and we studied just tribes all over the world. But they were talking about mad cow disease. It's kind of complicated, but basically the basis of mad cow disease is a neurological disorder that runs along the nerve endings, and part of the way it comes is through cannibalism, or like cows eating cows, because in the big meat industry they actually put the rest of the cow back in there. So I'm not exactly sure the chemistry behind that, how it affects the DNA. Some of my really smart scientist friends might know that answer. But there was a tribe in Africa who practiced cannibalism. But it was this like beautiful thing. So when your person dies, when your loved one dies, there's a status breakup of the body. So like the husband or the wife of the person who dies gets to eat the head or the brains, and then different people get to eat the different parts of the body. And they also suffered westernized ideas of what is
Experience.
right isn't necessarily what's right for all people. But they had symptoms of mad cow disease, which is like kind of like shaking or madness, but that was like considered some kind of an ascension, right? And it comes from eating your loved ones, but out of ridiculous, beautiful reverence, which is really interesting to me.
Perspective.
Right? It's like, because then after you eat them, they're a part of you forever. They like, they're like in your DNA. So it's like you never really lose them or something. So that's interesting to think about.
Very much so. Yeah. And if I heard like the average person, I think it's just in America, but like the average American eats like 100 pounds of meat a year or something. Like, I don't,
it's ridiculous,
something,
girl.
and it's just like, for every burger you eat, that's probably a different cow. So like,
or 3 or 5 or 10 different cows,
exactly.
Some pig pieces thrown in there too.
So like,
industry corn, GMO.
Real? So it's like,
Well, and from just like a food perspective, because part of what I do is nutrition therapy, specifically Oriental nutrition therapy based on Chinese medicine, but also, just like I talk to plants, like eating good food and food that's indigenous to your body. So different peoples have different propensities toward different foods and different abilities to break down different foods. But there's an average, the average grown man has 5 pounds of undigested rotting meat in their gut. Oh, God. I know, it's gross, right? And I get so many patients who have digestive issues. And it's like, well, I feel like a broken record. It's like, how many leafy greens are you eating? How many leafy greens are you eating? Have you been eating leafy greens? How about beets? People come in and they like eat so much what we call phlegm food. Phlegm food consists of anything that would be like heavy and sticky. Breads, pastas, milk, cheese, alcohol is very phlegmy. Smoking makes you phlegmy because it dries out your beneficial fluids. So there's an overabundance of these kinds of foods and not enough fiber in the diet. So you get like overkill of one and not enough another. So there's like an excess and a deficiency. So you're excessive, like sticky, phlegmy. So you see people, they're like kind of yellow colored and kind of light, always have kind of stickiness on them, and pale at the same time. And they don't have enough fiber and enough nutrients, so they're blood deficient. So they're like heavy in phlegm and like deficient in the moving blood. So you get people like diabetes and obesity and like ulcers on the legs, butt, you know, like I know. It's and it really is just about what you put in your body.
Yeah.
You know, so that's interesting. But back to loving our food. I really like what you said about being grateful about taking in what you eat, because something I was taught as a child, and you know, my mother's ancestry is from New Mexico and have a lot of different native blood, and what we carried is this idea of being super, like you talk to your food, you say thank you to your food. And then if you extend that to Masaru Emoto, who is a Japanese man who did the water experiments, we're all water. They actually did experiments not only on the words that they put on the bottles or of water jars, like love, hate, and the molecules shifting to represent those feelings, but also the before and after pictures of water molecules after having been prayed over. So you are literally changing what you're eating by intending positive, good, loving energy into your food.
Yes. That's such a good book. My mom, or like the
Masaru Emoto. Go ahead.
Yeah, just my mom, like, she has so many books. But it's like every time I go and I'm like, was this book here? Like, it just appears. Or it's funny how books do that. Like, whenever you're ready for them, they just like appear. Boop. Yeah, but that book is really awesome. And I was just that's one of the books that I definitely was like, the thoughts and the energy and the vibrations and the frequency and the intentions and yeah, like, okay,
right,
see it.
Right. So I think that's a good segue. Thoughts, energy, intentions.
And the earth is like 70% water as well.
Right, like our bodies. Oh, wow. So we really are a microcosm. Wow. So if it goes that if we like intend or pray into our water and into our food and it shifts things, then the power of our intention is really strong, Colin.
Yeah, we should go just be by the ocean and the water.
And rivers, because all the rivers run to the ocean. Oh my God. Anybody want to go to a river with us? Hit me up. Muse in Medicine, personal message us on Facebook, and we'll have a Denver day where we go and hang out and intend love and peace and stuff into the river, because we need it.
Yes.
Right now. So contention happening in the United States of America. And
when is there not?
Caca. Sorry, that just came out. We had Ana Cristina here last week, and she's been working on, she worked on the whole Bernie campaign, and she's like really into politics, and I kind of was like, politics, what does that help anything, really, though? And clearly I have issues with it all, but I want to kind of talk about, you know, I can't everything happening in Virginia, you know, all of the racism going on that clearly never left. Yeah. And what that looks like, and what our love looks like in these times, and you know, I'm a woman of color, Chicana, but I'm very light-skinned because I have European ancestry and I have indigenous ancestry, but my recessive genes came out. So I have that privilege. And yesterday I was like so angry and so fiery and so ready to like defend with my life, like the people that I love who would easily be targets, you know, that are my first cousins and my mother and etc. So I wanted to talk to you about that being so you're such a gentle spirit, such a beautiful spirit. And in case you audience didn't know, our beautiful Akiala is with child. So I wanted to ask you about what love looks like for you as a Black woman in the United States of America, bringing into this world a Black baby.
Yeah. This one is always an interesting question for me. Because I think my family is very like eclectic and like diverse. My like great grandfather is like Irish and he married like a Nigerian woman. So I think that kind of always instilled with me that just like love is love. And like I grew up in like a lot of, I don't know, I guess like predominantly white schools where it's like very apparent that I was Black, but I always saw myself as Akiala. Yeah. Like that was just one thing. Like I feel like when I was born, like I just saw myself as Akiala. I didn't see myself really as like, I don't know, not even like, oh, I'm a girl or like I'm this race or I'm that. Like I'm just me. Like, and when I look at my physical self, I guess I could say like, yeah, these are some things that define me, but that's not the things that define me immediately. And like I always strive to like create myself, and like I think that when people meet me, they're always just like, what are you? Because they're just like
from the stars.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like I'm very, very, very proud to like be Black, and I'm very proud of like my heritage. I'm very proud to be human. I'm very proud to be a woman. Yeah, I'm very proud. Like, I can't imagine, like, in this lifetime being anything else, and I don't want to. It's been, like, a beautiful part of my experience. I do believe, though, that I've had other lifetimes where I was probably, like, white, or maybe, who knows, like, maybe I was a white man, like, you know, who would have participated in last night's or yesterday's, like, whatever, shenanigans. Yeah, I'm like, ugh. But for me, my experience has been, I think, very different from a lot of, like, Black people, because I don't live in that space of, like, the cops are out to get me, or that, like, I can't do the things that I want to because I'm Black, or, like, I'm oppressed, like, I was a slave. Like, I don't live in that headspace. Like, I realize that it's a very, like, real thing, and it happens to a lot of people. So I don't, like, I'm not like, oh, that's not going on, you know, because it is. And it's not happening to me, and I do believe it's because I choose not to live in that space. Because I'm very much concerned more of, like, how do I live in love and unite humanity? Because in my world, in my head, like, I feel like in the future that we're moving towards, like, I grew up on Star Trek. So, like, that's the world I live in when I look around and I'll see beings from other planets, like, beings from other, like, universes, dimensions, forms that all live in harmony and aren't, you know, like, yes, you have a certain species and race and you eat different foods and act a certain way, but that doesn't really, like, mean anything in how we interact with you, unless you're trying to come up with some bullshit. And then we gotta, like, all right, yeah. But it's like, no, we're all, like, creating, we're all exploring the world and exploring each other and learning and inventing things. And I think diversity is needed, diversity in food and plants and animals. Like, nature creates diversity on purpose so that we can learn. And I think that by not embracing diversity is what's keeping humanity like stagnant, when it's like we could just be like, yeah, we're different, but also like we all have a heart, we all have a brain, like we all have these basic human emotions and resources that we've experienced. We've all had like we were all born from a mother, we've all maybe had sex, or we eat, or we have like shared experiences. So instead of dwelling on what separates us, why not like talk about things that more like unite us and how we can actually like thrive in the future.
Right.
But I think right now a lot of people are just wanting to heal. And I think I feel like a shift is coming, so like a lot of everyone's shit is being brought up right now, like, so it's like smack you in the face, like deal with it. Everyone's triggers are coming up, so it's like deal with it, or like either you're gonna like process it, heal from it, like yes, it's gonna be painful, yes, you need to have those conversations of like, this isn't fair, I hate this is painful, and yeah, like you need to be in that space and have those emotions. But where do you go from there? Like, do you choose to just dwell in the fear and the pain and the hurt, or do you learn to let it go and like create something different? And I think right now, like, I don't know, I'm just choosing to heal from it, like, and I hope a lot of people do. I know, like, even these white supremacists, like, obviously you're hurt somewhere. I don't know, I'm not totally clear on where it is, but there's a lot of pain. Like, only like hurt people, so these people are really hurting. So I think it's not our responsibility to heal anyone. Like, everyone's responsible.
Gotta heal themselves.
Yeah, you gotta heal your own self, but it's also not my responsibility to not be with them where they're at.
Right.
So
well, that's interesting that you say that, you know, hurt people, and I know this has been coming up a lot, and this is something I like to educate on, that was brought to my attention by my sister Lila June, that the first colonization happened in Old Europe. And that was a colonization. I saw them talking about that earlier on the Ghost House Denver, WeAreDenver podcast earlier. You know, Old Europe killed their medicine women first, their witching women. And the people who talked to plants, who knew the ways the stars moved, who could connect, who would pray, you know, because there's power there. And so the disconnection happened then. And then from that fled the European people over here to continue that pain, you know, hurt people. So, and I've seen this it's very interesting in my own practice, because I was raised doing ritual ways of the Mexica tradition, of which I also carry ancestry. And my mom, during the civil rights movement, started the first danza azteca in Denver, Colorado. And, so I was raised in the womb doing these rituals and this dancing. So, it's a very strong part of my practice as a medicine woman. And the people, I also work on priority through body talk. So I ask the body, you know, we've worked together. I ask the body what the priority for healing is. And the more it is more prolific, I don't think that's the right word, it comes up more. There's a prevalent, thank you. There's a higher incidence of ritual needed amongst my patients who are white people.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes so much sense to me, because they're so much further removed from their ritual, from their ceremony. When colonization happens, the first thing you do is you take away the medicine of the people. You take away the songs. You take away the dances. You take away the God. You take away the prayer. So there are these people who are running around with no connection in themselves. Like, they can't connect to a tree. Yeah. That tree that sustained your life. That tree that your placenta is buried under, you know? Right. Like, there's no connection there. There's no connection to their ancestral lands. So we talked about whiteness. Like, whiteness doesn't exist. There's a very beautiful what's it called? A thesis. It's not a doctoral thesis. It's a senior thesis written by a former lover of mine. It's called Whiteness, Body and Pathology of American Loss. So you can check that out. And he's a white man. And he wrote that under the guidance of Sheri Moraga. For those of you who are really into Chicano feminist literature, Sheri Moraga is one of the canons of that. So if you want to check that out. But basically, it's like, look at what happens when colonization happens. Like, white people, they're French and they're Russian and they're Spanish and they're German and they're Scandinavian and all of these other things. And that's not even honored. Like, what are the traditions of your grandmothers, your great-grandmothers, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmothers? And how do you bring that back here? And it necessitates listening. And that's why I feel like so many people are drawn to the work I do, because there is a deep need for us to reconnect with our God selves, our ritual selves, our love selves. And that is love. Girl.
I know. I'm literally just like scrolling through Facebook. I'm like, I don't know how to help y'all. Like, I really don't
And
anymore.
I'm like, I can't.
And I know, I'm like, I'm just kind of like living my life. Like, and I mean, one of my favorite quotes is just like, be the change you want to see in the world, you know? So, because I really feel, and I've watched over this past year, like, when I am happy and like living my truest, like, authentic self, for some reason, my environment starts to reflect that. Yeah, and I'm just like, huh. Or and some people start to just randomly disappear that were kind of making me feel bad. Or now a new person is coming to my life that I was like, wow, I've been praying for you.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, I think I'm going to continue following my joy and like my happiness. And I can still be in a place of love, and I've been seeing people who are like, if you're not speaking up, that means you're, you know, like for oppression, and if you're not marching, you know, like putting stuff on me. And I'm like, okay, but also yesterday, like we just hosted a field day for kids where we were gathering school supplies. So it's like, I'm doing things energetically in a different way, whereas like marching,
you're creating positivity as opposed to reifying negativity. Right.
So I'm like, and you know, if that's what you need to do, like you need to march, you need to be around people and like get out your emotions and stuff, like do that. Like, you know, for me, that doesn't feel uplifting to me. I don't feel like it really like accomplishes anything. Like it's not in the energy or frequency that I want to live in. It's not what I want my child to be doing, like, when they're 20.
Right.
So I'm just like, I'm not going to do that then. Like, I'll find another way energetically, because I think people think it's either this either-or thing. And I'm like, no, there's a lot of ways that energy moves, and that you can, like, you know, change frequencies and, like, just create. If you're creating art, you can speak up in so many other different ways that don't just fuel the fire.
Right. Fuel the fire. So I wanted to read this. That's why I was on my phone. Lila June, who I've talked about. And guys, if you don't know who Lila June Johnston is, look her up. Instagram, Facebook. She is all about kind of like recultivating the love of our ancestors, and she's half Dene and half Scandinavian. And she is just like, I talk about her all the time because I love her to death. Like, we're close sister friends, and I look up to her and admire her because she's like this public figure, amazing woman. But her status yesterday, where I needed it, she speaks to my soul. She says, "Let she who is without sin cast the first stone. Speak the truth. Forgive moment to moment. Look at myself. Love the cruel people. Love the cruel self. Through truth and love together, there is freedom and genuine improvement, constructive path ahead. For self-love is to humans as wings are to a bird." So, yeah, I guess it's all about radical self-love up in this piece. So, Aki, I heard that you are engaged to yourself.
I am.
Can we talk about that, please?
Yeah.
How did it happen?
Okay. So 2 years ago, on May 5th. I was just sitting in my room, and I was like, I don't know, I think I was watching like Dragon Ball Z, and I was like eating Chubbies, and I had a glass of wine.
I love you so hard.
And I was just like laughing, and I just remember like having one of those laughs where you're like, like your head goes back, you're like, and I was like, I'm having way too much fun right now. And I kind of just like looked around my room, and I was just like, wow, like I really enjoy spending time with myself. And I've always been that way. Like I always went to dinner by myself, or like did tons of things like with myself. And in school, people were like, that's weird. I could never go to the movies by myself. I'm like, really? Like, I love it. Like, I don't care. Like, I go to events by myself, but I just kind of was just really, like, noticing that. I was like, wow, I really love myself. And, like, I've never really been in a relationship, and I was like, maybe it's just because it's me. Like, I'm the one. And then, you know, like,
you are, girl. You are.
And I used to watch, like, RuPaul, and, you know, he would always say, like, if you can't love yourself, how do you expect anyone else to love you? Which definitely is the truth. Like, if you really don't love yourself, like, there's the work. I feel like that's what life is about, is like learning how to like unconditionally love yourself, because when you do, you start to see yourself reflected in everything, like a pencil or like people. Yeah. No, everything.
Little
really.
puppy dog.
Yeah, and you just see like, oh wow, we're all in this together. And it makes it really, really, really hard to hate anything.
Right.
So
if you love yourself.
Yeah. And so I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna just dedicate time to really like actively like love myself. And like I do still want to attract, you know, someone else who wants to be in a like relationship with me and like love myself with me.
Will you help me love me? Will you love me,
Yeah.
with me, please?
They're just there. They're loving themselves. I'm loving myself. We love each other, you know. But I was just like, I'm just going to work on myself, you know. And I think just actively doing that made me grow. And I was like, what are my dreams? And let me do this and this. And then, and then met someone, I guess, kind of. But and then now I'm pregnant. And then like now I'm getting back into my self-love, because for a minute I feel like I kind of fell off a little bit. You kind of, when you're with someone else, especially like women, we give so much that it's just like, it's like inevitable that you're not gonna like give. And like I'm a very like giving person. Like I'm a very romantic person. Like if someone lets me be romantic, I'm like, all right, kid, is this okay? Like I'll make a platter of treats and like, you know, bring out flowers and stuff. And I just never had someone who I could do that with, who wasn't like, oh God, she's trying to marry me. Like, I'm not trying to marry you. I'm getting married to myself. I just want to do this.
Cute and sweet.
Right. Like I just want to be cute. And so I finally like was able to, you know, try doing that with someone, and it felt good. But I think I was like, you know, thinking about them more than, you know, still nurturing me. So I think I kind of lost my self-love for a bit, and now I'm just like really diving back into it. But what I'm finding is, because I did so much work, that it wasn't so hard to get back into it.
Take a little respite.
Like, how will I love myself again? And then I look in the mirror and it's like, oh yeah.
Hey,
yeah, there I am.
How you doing?
Hey boo.
Hey boo. How does baby fit in?
Well, it's interesting, like loving myself, and then because this person is a part of me too, like already naturally loving them, but also it's interesting unconditionally loving someone that you've never met and like don't have a clue of like who they're gonna be, but still like, I love you, like thank you for choosing me. And I think that they've made me stronger in my self-love. So, like, just hardcore. They've been, like, begging me almost, it feels like, to be like, I need you to just love yourself and take care of you. And because I think it's just in my nature to, like, care for others a little bit more than I do for myself. I noticed, like, when I first was, like, wondering if I was pregnant, like, before I took a pregnancy test, and, like, you know, like, I would have a drink, and I'm like, oh, wait, if there's a baby, probably shouldn't drink this, that's bad. And I'm like, well, why would I drink it if it was just me, even when I know it's bad, but when there's another person, and I'm like, no, that's bad. So it's just interesting watching my boundaries kind of, like, change for myself, and, like, just really, like, oh, I should probably eat, you know, better, or I should start walking more. And, like, so it was like I was taking care of myself more,
right,
kind of for this other person, but now it's become more for me. So yeah, babies helped a lot with self-care. And even my thoughts, I'm like, oh, I don't want you to feel that or think that. Like, I feel like my thoughts and feelings kind of, like, go down to them, and I'm like, no, like, I don't want you to feel that pain and those emotions. But also I know, like, that's gonna help them. They'll be more emotionally intelligent if they do have, you know, like, a wide array of emotions. They've already kind of, like, experienced those things, so I feel like it's good for them. But I'm also just being conscious of, like, I want them to be untainted by my experiences and my pain and my insecurities. So I want them to come and be born and be free and not have my DNA struggles.
I mean, they will.
I know.
But that's part, I think, the beauty. I think that's why they choose us. You know, that there are lessons that baby needs to learn that are only going to come through you and whoever baby chose for papa. You know, because even, like, my father passed away when I was really young, but he wasn't really there. He was very young. He was, like, 3-4 years younger than my mom, and my mom was, like, 26, I think, and so he was, like, 22 and just not. And then he was in California and super, like, everybody's, like, charismatic hero, and UCLA, and, you know, campesino. My dad grew up with Cesar Chavez and all his kids doing all the farm worker movement stuff. So just, like, a super charismatic, beautiful human man. He wasn't around for me. So when I first met my father's family when I was 16, I had lots of, like, rabia, like he left, and then he married some other woman and had another baby, and I'm really close with my sister now. Well, maybe not really close. We have very high esteem and a lot of love for each other, and when I lived in the Bay Area, she lives in the Bay Area, we were close, but, you know, we're good. But anyways, it's just interesting that he left and then he died, and I later got my astrological chart read. And I have a 29-degree conjunction in Neptune. For you astrology nerds, you know what that means. For all the rest of you, there's a strong correlation with Neptune and the father figure, and Neptune also in the spirit realm. So I'm a Capricorn. I was born on Christmas Day, but I never felt like a Capricorn because I'm like, and so when I got my astrological chart read by this esoteric acupuncturist called Jill A. La Liberté, if you guys are into getting your chart read, she's amazing. Anyway, she was like, I didn't tell her anything about myself. She was like, well, this conjunction in Neptune is really interesting, and it means you have one foot in this world and one foot in the spirit world, but also generally people with this Neptune in their chart, their father figure's either missing or in the spirit realm. So without her even telling, like, me, I told her nothing, and she called that my dad's in the spirit realm, and I was already getting more into my spirit self, and had connected to my dad's family and connected to my father, and I do connect to my father. I could do it more, but I think I'm at the tail end of healing my man issues because of that abandonment. But my point is, I had a point. I chose that. It's like it was in my chart, and I came into this world at that moment, and that was already there. Like, it was literally written in the stars that my dad would be gone. So that just like blew my mind, right? And here I am doing this, and I feel like in my practice, I help a lot of, and that's part of the reason why I do the show with love and relationships, is healing that primordial connection to the masculine and the feminine is pretty much all of our work.
Yeah.
You know, like my daddy issues have shaped my life.
For real. Parenting.
So good luck with that, boo. Good luck with that.
I know. Like, I've just been like watching, like I've been people watching or parent watching lately. I'm just like taking notes because I'm like, okay, I really love your kid. What are you doing right? Your kid is really crazy. But I can watch their parents now and see how they interact, and I can tell like, oh, that's because like your kid is literally crying out for you to just like hug them. And they're like, shut up. Just put
Oh my
just
God.
like, oh no. Like yesterday, so we had the field day. So we're in the park. All these kids are like coming, playing games with us. And I had some paints out. So this one kid was like, oh, can I paint? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he started painting, and his mom the whole time was just like, oh, because she's like, it's paint. It's messy. And like, no. And I was like, it washes off. And she's like, oh, it does? And I was like, yes, it does. And he finished his painting. He's like, Mom, this is for you. And she's like, I don't want that. She's like, I don't want that mess. And she kept trying to give it to him. And she was like smacking his hand.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, oh, I had to like get up and walk away because I was just like, oh Lord. And like he painted something else, and he's like, he gave it to me, and I was just like, oh, this is beautiful. Thank you.
That makes me want to cry.
Right. And then it's just, he like, was when I asked him, like, you know, he left his painting on the ground. They were about to leave, and I was like, do you want your painting? And he like looked at his mom. She's like, no, I don't want that mess. And I was just like, oh God. And like, but he like came and got it, and I'm just like, that is just and he had to be like 4 or 5, and I'm just like, you know,
yeah, that's the kind of stuff that fucks kids for the rest of their lives. Like, that person's gonna come see me in 10 years, and I'll have to like.
Right. That's what parenting is literally. Like, if people aren't willing to do their work, like, why did you have a kid? Like, you should have just.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, it's work, you know, to see yourself, and
yeah,
it's really interesting for me doing what I do. Right away, I'm like, what happened to her? What, like, who told her not to shine? Who shut her down constantly? And where does that come from? And honestly, like, that's why, like, I totally get what you're saying about seeing everything in, let's move to positive and diversity, but there are layers.
Yeah.
There are layers of our shit. And specifically when it comes to the legacy of slavery and legacy of rape and genocide and conquest and colonization, that shit runs deep.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be able to work with it, deal with it, see it first. Like, this is because, you know, I was never able to express myself artistically. Like, maybe that mama needs some paints, you know, like, if she could paint, like, maybe she always wanted to do that, but because they told her no, she couldn't.
I know. I was witnessing that. I was like, when I saw her, I was just like, damn, you know, like, you could see it all over her. Was just like, I am drained. I am tired. Like, she just wanted to sit down, and it felt like she was thankful that we were there, and we, you know, like, that we could just take her son for a bit and like play games. She could just kind of like chill for a minute. But it was just like, she looked so defeated, and I was just like, I really like do want to know like your story. And like, there's some people who automatically just start telling you because they're just like, I don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna start.
I have no idea what that's like.
But it's like, and it was just like, okay. And it was just like, yeah, I pray for you, you know, like, I know you need some love in your life. But yeah, it's just like, healing it's like, one, being like my mom's child, like, I have my own healing to do. And then there's like, I didn't in that way. But also, like, she has her healing to do. And, and like, I think our relationship has gotten stronger because we had like a little bit of time where I like moved out, and like we were both able to like grow and work on ourselves. And so now with like coming back, where it's like, cool, like we can talk to each other. There's still like little things where I'm just like, okay, that's like your stuff. Like now, like that's your stuff. Like that's not me.
Right.
And she's still like she has a lot of things that she needs to work on, but she realizes it now, which is like beautiful. But it's when the parents don't work on their stuff, it's hard. Like in any relationship, if there's only one person who's like willing to heal and grow on, then you can't really like work through that. It takes both people, and I think that's what's like in this country, even like just the relationships of race. It's like it's not just one person who needs to heal, like but also yes, maybe like one like party has healed a little bit more or something, and this party is like not willing to even see that they need to heal, you know, which is like that's where it's like
Well, and I think that's a strong argument for just healing yourself as well, because especially like I see it all the time, when you heal yourself, you heal your people. And we say you're healing 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. And if you believe that time is not linear, which a lot of spiritual circles hold that truth, like if I can heal myself in this moment, like heal my daddy issues, I could like make an imprint spiritually that like my dad was always there with me, and he is there, you know. So and I've seen, just the more I've grown, the more I've come into my womanhood, the more I've released a lot of my issues, the better my mom is. You know, like and my family is, and we're all able to check each other, you know. But also there's that healing by example, you know. You can't tell someone, well, why aren't you doing your healing? But if they see you like, wow, you seem really well, what are you doing, you know, and then you're like, oh, well, I just went here, oh, let me give you the name of my therapist, let me give you the name of my acupuncturist, you know.
It's been cool, like, because I've just actively expressed that I don't really want to eat meat, like, with my mom, and she doesn't really either, and, like, we're just, like, but now we're really just, like, all right, let's just buy, you know, the vegetables and stuff, or, like, let's make recipes, and, or, you know, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to eat that, and being pregnant, she's kind of been like, okay, I won't make it, but, and not eating it, she's not eating it, and now she's doing, like, this cleanse, and, like, I don't know, it's just, I think I push her a lot too, like doing the fashion show and stuff. She's watching me do things, and so it like pushes her to also like work on her business and like work on her book and selling it and stuff.
Nice.
So I think it's just, like that leading by example.
Each one teach one. Right. And that's, I think loving yourself really is the greatest love, because again, like, you know, you show people how to love themselves too. Boundaries are great.
Yes.
Doing things that are good for you. So we're at time.
Okay.
My beautiful darling friend Akiala, lovely. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I love you so much, and like thank you for healing me. Mondays are my favorite because I get to just be with you and hang out and talk. So,
thank you, lovely. I love seeing you too. I mean, even your pregnancy glow, bad birth control over here. Not that I'm on birth control, because we can talk about that. Could be the next show. Okay, so this is Miss Akiala and you can find her at absolute.vibes, and that's absolute like soul, SOUL, absolute. She's punny. And I'm Eutimia Cruz Montoya, Muse in Medicine, and this is WeAreDenver, #WeAreDenver. We are at the Ghost House Denver. Thank you so much, Rich, back there doing all the things. Thank you, Ryan Fu. WeAreDenver. Shout out to just Denver community. I know we're going a little over. I want you guys, if any of you are having struggles about everything going on in the world, I really invite you to personal message me, Muse in Medicine. That's on Facebook. You can PM me. We really need to be holding ourselves accountable spiritually, holding ourselves to ourselves, being in community again, okay? So hit me up. And if you need healing, tomorrow what Aki's talking about, I'm at the Grow House, 4751 York Street, every Monday morning from about 10 to 1. And it's free consultations. They also give out free vegetables if you sign up. And there is a market there, and it's bilingual, Spanish, English speaking. Beautiful space. And then I'm at Alchemy Denver from 2 to 6 doing sliding scale treatments, body treatments, pain, physical, heartbreak, anything. we call it in. Okay, so that's 2536 Champa Street. So there's no reason for you guys to be alone. Okay, with all of this, seek your people out, find your community, love yourself, and asking for help is loving yourself, number one. Okay, so thank you, much love. Thank you, Aki. Peace, beautiful people.
Broken, still moving well out in the open. Lower my gun and keep my questions to a minimum, and let you run and run.